if I'm being pragmatic, I followed the Gooners for a very long...
They're not in a false position, Tony, this season.
Well, in Liverpool have not been performing, you know that. United have not been... Manchester City have not been performing as they should. And Arteta, how he's turned that around this season, the Lord alone knows. But I'm still hopeful that we'll get a top 4 finish, because we must get back into the Champions League, obviously, for no other reason.
Well, if you don't get to the top 4 now, that is the worst ever capitulation in history.
National block, Portugal on Tuesday at 5:30. Ireland emerge and are ready to go. And here come Wales. In their red shirts, white shorts and red socks. 4 changes to the starting lineup. As they try and finally get over the line in the next campaign. They've got the Women's Nations League to worry about as well. The draw for that is at the start of May. But it will be Northern Ireland who start the game in their white shirts, green shorts and white socks. They're going to go from right to left in this first half, so that's kicking towards the Canton end. No supporters in that particular part of this stadium. A giant Welsh flag hung over those FC blue and white seats. Wales in possession. And racing forward already in the opening seconds. Here is Anna Kane onto Kerry Holland, taking Helen Ward's number 7 on this near right side towards the edge of the penalty area. Cuts back, the tackle comes in, and Callaghan gets the ball for Northern Ireland. But Wales pen them in, put it back again on the edge of the penalty area.
But actually he claims that Prince Charles made a very similar suggestion, i.e. trying to present himself as a regent, trying to get the Queen pushed out, maybe to abdicate. Later on to Tony Blair. So everyone is spinning all of these stories still, and frankly there has been such an attack from Buckingham Palace. I mean, close to the full force of the state, certainly the sovereign, smashing down on this TV series.
Well, never explicitly, I don't think. It's all been through friends or whatever. Friends and the
but what I was going to say is, I really wanted, as a sort of dissident act, frankly, personally as a Republican, I really wanted to root for this TV series. I really wanted to love it. I really wanted to say, go away, Palace, with your controlling narrative. But I have to be honest, as a critic, it's just aesthetically a really disappointing piece of work.
Well, that is the big question, Lou Evans, I think. Even if we set all of those questions about accuracy aside, and we take it as a pure fiction, is it a good one?
Yeah, I know, we haven't really got to that. There's been so much hoo-ha around it, hasn't it? And I have to say up front, I am a fan of The Crown. I have watched all the other seasons. The problem with this is I found it, even though I was eagerly waiting to see it, it felt like non-essential television, perhaps because there has been so much controversy around it. The first 2 episodes completely lacked urgency. So the first episode seemed to be all about where the Queen was supposed to have an extra scone because she was putting on too much weight, and the second one was meant to be about Andrew Morton's biography. So this is explosive stuff about his secret meetings with Diana. There are secret tapes. Instead of which, it felt like a kind of another royal episode of Repair Shop, because there was this whole subplot about Prince Philip starting carriage riding and whether he'd renovate this carriage. And you're like,
there's quite a long section on the renovation of the carriage.
Quite a lot about carriage riding that I don't know if we needed. And this sunking metaphor about, Britannia being this, that cringeworthy line we just heard about. It's an embodiment of myself. I go like, yes, we get it.
One has to say, the metaphors, we're not short of them in this series, aren't we?
No, and Peter Morgan is someone who's fascinated by British institutions. We look at the royal family, we look again at Downing Street, but in this series in particular we look at this institution that you and I are sitting in, the BBC, comes in for quite a bit of scrutiny. But he loves big clunking metaphors for institutions. So much so that we eventually get to a stage where Prince William is trying to explain to the Queen why her TV is an old-fashioned lump of rubbish and she needs to upgrade to a spanking new satellite TV system which might actually give her channels but also a bit cooler than the fusty old BBC. And just in case we haven't got it, the Queen, as played by Imelda Staunton, sits back on her sofa, sighs and says, even the televisions are metaphors in this place.
I know, I thought at that moment, yes, we had noticed, ma'am, but thank you. It is true that. Do you have to care about the royal family to care about this, then, Lubusha?
I think, this show makes you care about the royal family. That's the thing about it. I mean, the justification, I think, for it is that it humanises the royal family. I think I definitely saw that in previous seasons. Josh O'Connor was an incredibly sympathetic Prince Charles in the previous seasons. He made him sort of exquisite vulnerability and almost agony that he was going through. The difficulty comes when they're recast. So he's now become Dominic West, and then there's this weird sort of divide between the two interpretations and embodiments of this character. I mean, Dominic West is a very different physical actor to Josh O'Connor, who's this, plays him as a kind of quite nerdy person, instead of which Dominic West, all the critics are basically, he's too handsome and self-assured to play Prince Charles.
Well, it was very funny. Johnny Lee Miller plays John Major, and there was a sort of Twitter kind of went into a Twitter last night because everybody was disturbed that they were finding John Major attractive. There was this weird sort of crossover between the two. What about Imelda Staunton as the Queen? Okay.
I think Imelda Staunton is one of the most talented actors of her generation, and unfortunately she's also a very well-known actress.